Hi, this is David Carr of the WordPress for Toastmasters project, and I'm excited to show you some updates to the whole digital agenda system that's built into the website. It gives you a lot more flexibility to go in as the Toastmaster of the day or as the VP of Education and reorganize things. You can assign people to other roles. You can suggest a role. So any member can nominate somebody to take on a particular role. And you can also reorganize your whole agenda using techniques like drag and drop to move these things around. So this is using some more advanced programming techniques than I've experimented with previously. I've learned a JavaScript framework that came out of Facebook. Now, some of you who've been using the system for a while have been trained on how to edit an agenda document using the WordPress editor so that we have specific components loaded into this editor that have a sidebar that show the different properties that we can change. And there are advantages to doing it this way. For one thing, you're using the same editor that you use for blogs and web pages. But on the other hand, if you want to add something here, it shows you a lot of options that are much more appropriate for editing blogs and web pages. And you have to kind of filter through here to find the stuff that's relevant to Toastmasters. Whereas this newer experience is all about Toastmasters agendas. So it's a much more focused experience. It should be easier for people to learn and easier for them to customize their meeting templates. Now, right now, this is offered as an alternative to the standard flow. So if you're on Toastmaster or you're using the open source software version, you will see a link that says try the new sign-up form that will open the sign-up form in this mode. And again, we have these buttons along the bottom that allow us to change from just signing up ourselves to editing to suggesting or organizing. And you, if you are the website administrator, you can decide how many of these options should be available to everybody as well as to just selected people. So if you only want people to be able to sign themselves up and to maybe suggest a role to another person, you can narrow down those privileges. I tend to think it's better to allow people to have the tools they need if they're the VP of Education, the Toastmaster of the day, or any club leader who wants to help out organizing the agenda, to allow them to make as many of these changes as possible. But people have different philosophies about that. Now, you can also set this to be the sign-up form by default, this new version of the sign-up form to be the default experience. So you can turn that on or off, depending on how comfortable you are with moving your members over to this. I think people are going to find it quicker and easier. So just to slow down and go back over these things, so in the sign up mode, I can click to take a role. And if I change my mind and I want to remove myself from that role, I'm going to click remove. If I want to sign up for a speech, well, once I've signed up, it will prompt me to fill in my path and project details. And hopefully you can get your people to do this. And there's a space for a title. And, well, spelling is too much to expect, I'm afraid. But you notice when I put this in, it says speakers have now reserved 33 minutes out of 28 minutes allowed on the agenda. So, an agenda is like a budget. You have to try and plan out how much time you're going to allow for speeches, for table topics, for other activities. And so if you, as the organizer, want to understand what's going on with this, you can go into the edit mode. And here, we could decide that somebody's just not allowed, but we have a member who has reserved a longer speech, a 10 to 12 minute speech, and that's what's making us over budget. But we want to encourage people to speak, and we want them to be able to give advanced speeches. So we could go over to this Organize tab, and here we can kind of work with our budget. And so I'll go through and find where it shows the speaker section, and the time allowed right now is 28 minutes. Well, we can go ahead and increase that. So we're going to allow more time for the speaking activity. And you should notice that when I change this number, the time below for the next block of activities also changes. So I changed this from 33 to 35. We see how that affects our timing of the agenda. And so then if we need to cut back other things, we need to adjust how much time we give for the humorist, or decide that we just can't have a humorist this week. Maybe that's the simplest solution. We knock that person off the agenda. We confirm that we really want to delete this. And we have now shortened our meeting activities, and we can try and organize things so that we're going to end on time. I showed you that there was a capability to drag and drop things around here. So let's see. I think I didn't even have table topics in here. So let's put in a role of topic master. I can click insert and say I want to add a topics master. So this will be the portion of the meeting where we do table topics, and the time allowed for that is 10 minutes normally. So we'll set that here, and maybe as a rule we do table topics and then we do speakers, but gee, we've got some long speeches going on here, so I can move topics master down to after speaker. So let's fish around in here. Okay, so we want it after. Or frankly, I often find it easier to just click these buttons to move up or move down to make sure that I get things in the right order. So the edit mode is where I can edit who's assigned to which activities. I can also edit these different kinds of notes that appear. A sign-up form note appears just on the sign-up form. There's also something called an agenda note that just appears on the printable or email versions of the agenda. So I can edit the text of those here. Just make a little edit and update that, and it will tell me that it's updated, and that will now be reflected on our sign-up sheet. We also have spots for things like President wraps up the meeting, Toastmaster of the day presents the awards. So we can have sort of these standing stage directions as part of our meeting. Or we can have a spot for what I call an editable note, is something that changes from meeting to meeting. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration from Thomas Edison. And the word of the day is innovation, the introduction of something new or different, which is what I'm trying to accomplish here. Now, if we want to focus, particularly when we're editing here, if we want to focus just on editing the roles, there's a little toggle over in the corner here where I can hide all those note items and just see who's assigned to what, which roles I need to fill to get my meeting all organized. Another thing that becomes much easier is to rearrange the order of, say, your speakers and evaluators. So if we want to move this one down, we can just click to move Dr. Mysterio after James Buchanan. Also, if we have a gap on the agenda, maybe we have no speaker 2, we have 1 and 3 because somebody backed out. Well, now you'll see this little close up icon. So we can kind of compact these. So with one click, it'll reorder them so that now they're 1, 2, and 3, and the open spot is at the end in case somebody else signs up for a role. So those are things that I hope will make you more productive. You can also access that reordering over on the organize screen. It might actually be a little bit easier to see here because you don't have all the speaker details showing. You just have who's in what order. And so if I want to move this guy to the top, so these controls are move to top, move up by 1, move down by 1, or in the case where we have an open role, you would see okay, so now that we have a blank spot here, we have the icon that says close the gap, and that will just sort of pack them in closer. Now, in addition to just assigning somebody to your role, we have this mode called Suggest, where I can go down to any open role, and we can make this available to all the members of our club to go through here, and we can see when they last filled that role. So, I can say, hey, you haven't done this in a while. All right. Thank you, Grammarly. And I'm going to send this to the member. I can have a copy CC'd to myself, but it's going to go out as an email, and we'll get a little preview here of what the email says. It goes out with the message that we entered, and it says to confirm, click this button to say, take the role, or they can click down here, and there's a note that says that no password is required when they do it that way. So that's an effort to make it quick and easy for somebody to accept and to take a role and to fill in the blank spaces on your agenda. If you've gone through the process of reorganizing this agenda and you want to make this your permanent model for future meetings, you can just come in here and say update template. And so the template to be used for all your future meetings will be updated. There's a little prompt here that says if I want to apply that to other meetings, I can go through, and this create update screen allows me to update all the future meetings to match the model that I've set up with this one particular one. Or if you don't have to do it that way, you can also go into this screen and click edit. So now I'm going to switch to this mode where I'm currently editing a template, it says. So all the changes I make will just be changes to the template rather than a specific meeting. And we'll see the prompt up here shows that I'm in a template, not in an individual meeting. And so I can make my changes here, play around with it, get the formatting the way I want, and then go through that process of updating. Because I'm in a template, I have the prompt right here to create and update, copy all this content that I've set up over to my new and existing events. So I think this is going to make it easier for people to work with the agenda, to use it more flexibly, to take advantage of the power of having it be digital, not having it be a static document like a Google Sheet or something, which I know some people use for meeting sign up, to have things programmed into it like the paths and the projects, to have it track people's history of what they've signed up for and what we might want to get them to sign up for next. There's a lot of power here. This is still, I guess, considered to be kind of the beta release. So check it out. If you find that some things are a little bit funky, contact me so that I can improve this. I'm probably going to make this the standard version within the next few weeks.